Hello and welcome to today's video, and we're joined by the team here at Sainsbury's who won the 2020 award for Outstanding People Development Programme. So we're delighted that they can join us today to share their story, which will hopefully inspire you to enter this year. So I'm joined by Adrian, Satnam and Liban, who are going to go through their presentation, and then I'll pop back and ask them some questions at the end. So over to you guys.
Thank you, Emma. It's great to be talking to you today and sharing what is something that we're really proud of, and to share some of the content that was created as a result of our entry for Outstanding People Development. I thought what would be a really good place to start is to talk about our transition from 2008 into where we are today. I think where we started in 2018 was a procurement team in the backdrop of a very challenging retail sector and on a journey to transform the procurement organisation. There'd been a new CFO in place who recognised that actually we had a very good procurement function, which was a strong procurement function, service orientated, but not really part of the key decision-making processes of the business and not really driving the transformational change that we needed as we faced into the next 3 years of our journey. In order to achieve that, the board recognised that we needed a holistic approach to cost and savings. And so we brought a new CPO on board who really was there to drive the transformational change and create a team which would become a driving force behind the key commercial changes that the business needed to make, but also a top quartile procurement team, and a very much a journey from a good procurement team to a great procurement team. And so since 2018, we've been on that journey. We've upweighted the procurement department by bringing in experts, category expertise, and procurement expertise that really can drive us forward. We've moved to a multi-sited location strategy. So we now have sites in both Manchester, Milton Keynes, in the south, and in our base in Holborn as well. So, and that's allowed us to tap into procurement talent across the country. And we've also experienced and delighted to have experienced a number of awards during that period of time as well, winning CIPS Team of the Year in 2019, and now being here with you today to talk about our award for people development as well. But in order for us to have delivered that great transformation over the past 3 years, we've needed to keep people at the heart of our transformation agenda. It's the capability, the energy, the passion, the innovation that our people have brought to the business to really enable us to drive that commercial agenda and put commercial and procurement at the heart of the business today. And so it gives us great pride to be talking about our people development agenda, our people development award, because really our transformation has been all about our people and our change journey to date. So what did we set out to achieve? So over the next 10 minutes, Satnam, Liban and I will talk to you about our people development journey to date, what we set out to achieve, our approach, the challenges, our successes to date. But the first thing to say is we wanted to create a people development program that really led through our mission and our culture. Back in 2018, we created a new mission statement, and that mission statement you can see is on the slides there. So trusted, passionate procurement team, working at pace, driving real value into our stakeholders and the business. And therefore everything that we did with our people program, we wanted to make sure that was really underpinned by that mission. And so when we looked at our old traditional behavioral and technical competencies in our development program, up until that period of time, it was outdated. It was no longer stretching enough or fit for purpose for us. And therefore, we had to set a new agenda, a new ambition, and a number of key objectives. And the objectives that we set out to achieve were very focused on developing our teams into respected business leaders and enablers of change. That was absolutely vital for us as we started our people development journey. It had to give our teams the confidence to really drive that change agenda, but also maintain a strong commercial skill set in doing so. It had to be a program that supported procurement professionals and our teams at all levels. We didn't just focus on a set of skills for one particular level within our organisation. We did that across the entire spectrum because it was a change programme and we all had to buy in and deliver that. And we had to embed procurement and great commercial leadership at the heart of the business and really get into those key decision-making forums and really start to influence that. And fundamentally, we had to raise the capability and the functional capability and create business leaders of the future and procurement leaders of the future. And I'm going to hand over to Laban now.
So what was our approach? I think the first point to make here is that this was a fairly unique experience for me personally, largely because this was a program that was created and owned by the team. And we did this really in a number of ways. So the first one was to mobilize our various ministries. So last year we started off with 4 ministries, which sought to drive the team forward along the lines of culture, brand, capability, and development. And these ministries essentially are forums whose membership is open to any colleague at any level within the team. And they're there really to understand the need of the team and then translate that into a plan to bring the various mission statements to life. Now, whether it's the cultures ministries drive an ambition to bridge the geographical divide and create a one-team ethos, or the recruitment and brand team's ambition to improve our internal and external brand image so we attract and retain the best talent. And so through this process, we relaunched the Training and Development Ministry, which I'm a member of. And now this for me really was the catalyst for organizing and accelerating the delivery of what was a rich program to support our ambitious people transformation agenda. And because this was colleague-led, take-up was phenomenal. Colleagues recognized that their views were taken into account, which led to increased levels of engagement and ownership. And we know this because we surveyed colleagues, in addition to the feedback we'd naturally received through the ministries. And this process essentially allowed us to iterate as the year went on, to improve as the year went on, by creating a whole host of different development tools. And we did this really by tapping into subject matter experts within the organization, such as legal, project management and program management, but also on current issues such as sustainability itself. And some of the feedback we'd initially received allowed us to create a slightly more flexible program to suit individuals' needs. And we achieved this through things such as lunch and learn programs and sessions. And these essentially were hour-long sessions on various subjects such as category management, building a strategy. It could have been led by specialist external consultancies, but actually largely delivered by the team internally. And the feedback we'd received from this suggested that this mode of delivery was incredibly effective in knowledge transfer. And the reason for that is because the presenters understood the internal dynamics of our team and our business, which led to a richer, more relevant experience for participants. But it doesn't stop there really, because we also took time to curate and signpost rather a wealth of training materials to support distance learning after the initial event itself. And quite often, the discussions carried on to the ministry SharePoint sites where the content was hosted and links provided. And this also proved to be useful in bringing in the PDP process to life, really. And further to that, we understood that we needed to develop our colleagues beyond the traditional technical competencies. And we did this by aligning our procurement behavioral competencies to a judgment, drive, and influence framework with key areas amplified for procurement. Now, this is extremely effective in giving our people the confidence to business partner and create and embed that change. And this has become all the more relevant in today's world, where we really need procurement professionals to really be those change agents. We've also made significant investments in external training to supplement the ambitious change agenda. And these include things like Lean Six Sigma training, but also negotiation training, the latter of which I was personally involved in and led from its inception right the way through its delivery. And it proved to be really successful because it allowed multiple team members from different seniority levels to attend the session itself. But it doesn't actually stop there, because we also support external training. We also wanted to invest in studying for CIPS accreditations and support our colleagues who were going through that at all levels of the syllabus. And in fact, this is encouraged within the department. And we have been, we've given colleagues the flexibility to go the route of self-study like I have, or a more formal classroom-based program or apprenticeship program. Now, the important thing to note here is whichever route or approach the colleagues took, the business was essentially ready there to kind of support them along that journey and accreditation.
Thanks, Laban. And in terms of the next slide, I guess we now come on to some of the challenges. So firstly, we wanted to find an approach that worked for individuals across our multi-site location. To overcome some of these challenges, we embarked upon a team-led approach to training. We had great spectrum of volunteers from all categories and locations, those locations that Adrian mentioned earlier. And what we found was that the great thing with colleagues running these sessions was that it really helped with overall colleague engagement. Colleagues were able to talk about real life examples, which really helped bring the training to life. And giving colleagues the opportunity to run these sessions really helped their own individual development. And tools like Teams, Teams was something, of course, that we'd been using prior to going into COVID times, which made, the use of such technologies, so much more important in our ability to communicate across different locations. And like Laban was talking about earlier, when we ran these training sessions, we always obtained feedback so that we could continuously improve. In terms of making the program more flexible, first of all, I think what is important to note now is that we did set an agenda, but we didn't always stick to it. And I guess the two examples that I'd like to draw out really in relation to this is, number one, Brexit. So we did change our diary of training events to bring forward Brexit in a lead up to Christmas to kind of clash with the government's deadlines on that matter. And this particular training was actually delivered by our own in-house and exports team. The second example is net zero. Now, this is an area that we are seeing much more of an uptick within the business, the momentum that it's really driving into this area. So to coincide with this, we've actually brought that training forward so that colleagues can join that and support that momentum for the business. The final point on this slide relates to how we embed this into our recruitment process. So I think firstly, as you can tell from what Laban and Adrian have spoken so much about during this brief session, is that the development of our employees and colleagues is so important, and we've invested so much into it, as have the individual colleagues. So when we are recruiting, as a minimum, we do look for individuals with a similar skill set. Of course, the ideal candidates are those that have skill sets that take us beyond where we are today. And they in turn can support that next cycle of training to support that continuous improvement that we strive for. Now this slide summarizes our key achievements. So we do believe that we have a development of a framework that gives individuals the ability to manage their own development. We have supported our colleagues to help change mindsets within the business, become category and commercial experts, and be leaders of change. We have also delivered a clear point of reference for the skills needed to progress, not just within procurement, but also within the wider business.
And the programme has brought development really to the forefront of the conversation within the department and helped colleagues value peer-to-peer learning. And it's just become so much easier to have those conversations about development because we kind of all know what the parameters are because we all took part in creating it. And it's not necessarily a programme created in isolation by an OD department somewhere. And I guess the result of this has been a significant number of promotions over the last 12 months and so on. And on that last point there around the mix of delivery, I mean, this really reflected the colleagues' individual needs because they input into it. And there was a mix of compulsory, optional, soft skills and targeted training offers that really the team could take up to suit their own timetable and development priorities. And this, I think, was key in allowing colleagues to digest that multiple touch points in what would have otherwise been a lot of information to take on.
What you can see here and what we wanted to demonstrate was that we measure the success of the development program in a number of ways from a number of different facets that we look across the business at. And we just wanted to share with you a couple of the key highlights that measured our success over the past number of years. The first one being we've surveyed colleagues. So 89% of the colleagues felt the development program met and exceeded the needs. Now, the way we took those results is that every time a colleague did a training program or does a training session, we survey them real time, very, very quickly after the session. And that gives us active real-time feedback as to whether that piece of training met their need and whether it actually helped them accelerate their own development. And fantastically, we got some great responses, but also through that, we learned a lot about what it was that we could do better next time. So that was an important part of understanding how well we're succeeding as part of the development program, but actually, more importantly, the fundamental building blocks to it. The second one is number of promotions. As Laban mentioned, we've had a fantastic opportunity to promote a number of colleagues over the last 12 months, 7 in total, and that really comes down to the succession planning, the quality of the colleague that we have within our procurement function, and the development that underpins that. And so we've had great success in that, and we hope that to continue for the longer term. Corporately, in terms of measurable savings, we talked about our journey starting in 2018 to where we are today. Over those past 3 years, we've almost tripled the savings output as a procurement department. We've got 1920 on the slide, as you can see, but actually we're nearing our financial year end over the next month, and that savings output is looking to achieve in excess of 140 million this year. So something we're really proud of, but a good barometer of how well we're driving as a procurement department. We're driving the big change agendas and really delivering the value that the business needs to over the coming years. And then lastly, engagement. We're Listening is our corporate questionnaire survey that is sent out across the business. It's an anonymous survey, and so really gives colleagues the opportunity to give us anonymous feedback, honest feedback. And we're delighted to say that this year that colleague survey was completed over COVID times, but we received 97% positive responses to the development program we're running today. So it really, again, it shows that we have a really engaged team that is driven right through the heart of our team at all levels, with absolute involvement from the team that makes it the success it is today. Our biggest challenge now is, where do we go from here? 97%, we've got to find that extra 3%, but a great result, and one we're celebrating, but thinking about how we can continually improve thereon after. And that takes us to the end of the presentation. So thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think one thing that really came across from the judges is, I mean, Laban, you mentioned it, like so much of this content was delivered by the team, the training, everyone getting behind it. And I think that's what really makes it authentic. And like if you guys have bought into it as a team, and those results that you shared at the end, Adrian, show that clearly is the case, then that must make it much easier to sell into the business. Yeah, totally blown away. You know, focusing on engagement with stakeholders, focusing on skills beyond traditional technical skills, which is what we're looking for in this category. I mean, we always hope that everyone does the CIPS qualifications, but we're looking for that, what takes you over and above that, and at the same time delivering great results. I mean, fantastic presentation, and the results speak for themselves, so very well done. So I mean, there was a picture there in your presentation of you all sat around a massive table, and I remember seeing that picture on the awards day. So you did actually manage to, the slight window that we got to actually get back into the office, you did actually manage to all get together and celebrate. That must have been nice, Adrian.
Yeah, that was good, and as you say, one of those rarer moments in what has been a difficult year for everybody, both personally and in business terms, over the last 12 months. But you're right, that was one occasion where we managed to get, I think, 15 people in the department together, all socially distanced, may I add.
A massive table in a very big room.
On a massive table. I think there must be, 30 square meters to that table. But it was really nice to see everybody and celebrate in the best way we could. Clearly, we talked about our multi-site location, so there were people dialing in at home as well. But nice to share that award. And I think what it's done more than anything is it's given the team the confidence to continue their own development, for us to continue as a procurement department to keep developing, to bring that external expertise in where we need it, but to keep everybody's momentum high as we go into what will be, again, another challenging couple of years as the retail sector becomes competitive, and we'll do ever more so as we get through the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very challenging year for everyone, but for you guys, retail and food sector in particular. Satnam, so I guess you've shared your successes throughout the business too, so your stakeholders and everything must be delighted with this win. You see a lot of support throughout the business for winning awards for things like this?
Yeah, I mean, we announced some of the awards via the LinkedIn, and it's incredible the way the news travels. You know, during some of our strategic forums, some of the senior people within the business reference the award, and it does, you know, it does give us more credibility. It does support the way in which we're able to provide an impetus within the business, and you know, and it does support all the individual colleagues when we are proposing new ways of procuring. Our credibility does step on, so it is an important thing for us.
And Laban, were you involved in putting the submission together? Did you get a project team together? How did you work that out?
So I guess that was fairly easy to do, I think, because we'd already invested in the kind of ministry structure. So we had lots of kind of grassroots colleague involvement at multiple levels. So bringing that together felt really straightforward. I think the natural point, focal point was the development and training ministry, but then we tapped into all the different ministries that we had at the time, and we created this cross-functional group. And I think we were in the middle of the first lockdown, if memory serves me correctly. So we were, you know, getting used to using Teams, which switched off Skype, and it was a really good, actually, a distraction from what was happening elsewhere in the country and in the economy as well, and what was going on with the pandemic. So it was a welcome, I think, a slight distraction, and something that brought the team together as well. But I think the structure was there, so it was quite easy for us to kind of just mobilize.
Yeah, I mean, great just to focus on like the success really. And I think going through the process of filling out the application form, it really kind of helps you pull together and realize how much work you've really gone through. And that's as important as the win, I would say.
And I think, Emma, for us, what we wanted to do is we just wanted to tell our story.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of share that with CIPS and the judges. And you never go in with the expectation that you're going to win. I mean, you're absolutely delighted when you do win, but by pulling that story together, really kind of, it was almost a good 12 months review of what we've achieved and where we actually go next. So it was a nice segue for us into actually understanding what it was achieved. Be really proud of what we've done and how we've done it. Celebrate some of that with a hope to win the award, but also reset ourselves again to go, because development is a continual cycle, and we know that we need to keep pushing those boundaries and actually probably changing in the way that we're going to do it in the next 12 months, because we've reshaped the way that we communicate and the way that our training will be delivered as well.
Excellent. Well, you should be all very proud, the whole team. It's an excellent result. And like you said, where next? So I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to come up with this year for your award submission. I can't wait to read that one. Fingers crossed we'll see some submissions from you again this year. Guys, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your story. For everyone who's inspired by this, please go onto the website, have a look at those categories, see which one you think is the best fit, download the How to Enter guide and get some tips. And I look forward to reading your submission too. But thank you very much for everyone for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you.
No, thank you.